We'll go ahead and begin. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the 8th meeting of our calendar year 2025 of the Board of Directors here on this beautiful tax day, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. We'll begin with an invocation by Reverend Joel Motes with Calvary Pentecostal Church. Is Reverend Motes here? Substituting for Reverend Motes is our quite able City Director of District 6, Steve Trusty, and I'll lead the pledge. All rise.
Well, Father, thank you for another opportunity to gather and conduct the business of the city. Thank you for the opportunity to live here in this city. And we just ask for your guidance and direction upon us tonight. Give us wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and help us to apply it to achieve the best outcome for the citizens of Hot Springs and Garland County. We thank you, and we ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday.
Here.
Director Phyllis Beard.
Present.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Dudley Webb.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia. Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. At this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from consent agenda to new business? Director Webb.
Mayor, I've got 3 to request to move. Do you want me to go through those one at a time or all 3 together?
Well, just
First one is
forward.
First one is R-25-77. Second one is R-25-63, and the third is R-25-60.
Sixty,
60, 63, and 77.
Okay, we have a procedurally again. It's you got to have a motion.
You
second.
have 2 that want to move something from consent.
Anybody else in agreement want to move those items to consent? From consent to new business?
I'm okay with moving them, but I don't have a 63.
63 is item number 6.
I'll second that.
Okay. We'll go ahead, but let's move them in the order in which they were actually in the agenda. So, you said R-2560 was one of them?
Yes, Mayor.
So that'd be-
Art at 60, 63, and 77.
And we'll go in that order for new business. Okay. So do we have to approve it as amended?
Yes,
Yeah.
approve as amended.
So let's just vote right now to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Director Garcia?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll consider the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting held on April 1st, 2025, and a special called meeting on April 8th, 2025. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Director Garcia, seconded by Director Webb. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are adopted, approved. Recognition of guests. Director Webb had a couple, I guess, thank you citations you wanted to read?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. On Our previous board meeting, we delivered a proclamation for the Junior Auxiliary of Hot Springs, and they in return want to issue a certificate of appreciation to the City of Hot Springs, in particular Mayor Pat McCabe and the city directors, in thanking us for their recognition and support of their volunteer efforts in honor of National JA Week, April 6th through 12th of 2025. And I want to present this to our board tonight.
Very good. Thank you.
And then the second certificate of appreciation is from the American Cancer Society, or Relay for Life, issued to the City of Hot Springs for our support of the fight against cancer through prevention and awareness. In particular, the 2025 Relay for Life event, Tales of Hope. And this again is another certificate of appreciation to Mayor Pat McCabe and the City of Hot Springs Board of Directors.
Very good. Well, thank you for bringing those forward. We do have one proclamation to read tonight, and will be presented to Alan Bates, who's our urban forester for the City of Hot Springs. Alan, please come forward. City of Hot Springs proclamation, whereas National Arbor Day is observed throughout the nation and the world on the birthday of J. Sterling Morton, who proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture in 1872 that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in all areas increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal to many. And whereas recognizing the importance of trees' vital role in our ecosystem, Hot Springs, Arkansas continues observing National Arbor Day each year in April. Now therefore, I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 2025 as National Arbor Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and urge all citizens to celebrate and support efforts to protect and expand our community's tree canopy. And witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on this 15th day of April in the year of our Lord 2025. And I'll present this to Alan.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We do have a couple of activities coming up here in the near future, actually next week. Next Tuesday, I will have a tree giveaway at our county library from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Each year I try to give away several trees for our community. This year we have over 700 seedlings that we're going to give away. They're about 12 inches, really good root systems on them. They'll be given away from 11 to 1 at the library next Tuesday. I have 3 varieties of oaks, and then I also have a mayhaw. If you haven't ever heard of a mayhaw is a hawthorn, one of the hawthorns, and it has a fruit that really makes great jelly. So it is a fruiting tree, a very flowerful tree, and it will be given away. I do have a small number of those, but I do have over 700 trees altogether that will be given away. Also, next Friday is our annual Arbor Day activity that we just had the proclamation about. That's at the Entergy Park, and each year we have some 200 to 300 students from our local schools that come, and we have about 8 different rotation activities for them to go through. Everything from a sawmill to an actual tree climbing, where we have some arborists climb trees and show them different access of that. So that's next Friday from early morning till middle of the afternoon. No real time frame, but we do have a full day activities of that. But that's what's coming up. So if you can make our tree giveaway, it's next Tuesday at the local library.
Very good. What were the hours on that?
11 to 1.
11 to 1.
11
They'll
to
go
1.
fast.
They will go fast. There's always people.
Do we need a
lined up.
big pickup truck to carry them off?
Oh, there is a limit of 3 Per person. I should
But they're
have
just
mentioned that
little
earlier.
seedlings,
Pardon me?
just small little.
Yes, sir, they're small.
Very good. Well, thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
This time we'll hear from our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow, for the city manager's report. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As I typically do, I'd like to start off by welcoming some new hires and also congratulating those that have had recent promotions. Melody Godwin has joined the city as our stormwater administrator. I got to meet Melody earlier today. She's going to do great in that particular role, and just want to make sure she understands that we're inviting her into our city family and appreciate all that she's going to be doing. Stormwater isn't a very large department, but it does do a lot of work throughout the city and with many of our residents. So welcome, Melody, to the city of Hot Springs. I have two promotions to announce. One of those is Landon Powers, who is promoted to driver in our Hot Springs Fire Department, as well as Glenn Horsting. He's in our solid waste, and he's been promoted to a relief truck driver. So want to congratulate all three of them. Engineering, talked a little bit about our street paving. I've tried to send a couple of reports out to you. We have milled and paved about 4.81 miles of city streets, bringing the program completion to about 30%. This year, we plan on doing about 15.8 miles of roads. And again, that goes back to being able to use the Our Roads Now funds to be able to make that happen. The cost this year is just a little over $300,000 a mile when you include our milling activities that have to take place, which, you know, I never thought I'd say I was glad to see $300,000 a mile, but in what we saw in the previous year, that's a pretty good deal. Utility projects, I want to talk about the plant, the water plant project. That's still online, or that's still in progress, moving along rather well. They're doing some testing. I think we had a couple of the mixers came online today. That should be completed in fall of this year, and hopefully between October and the end of the year, we'll satisfy all of our Department of Health tests that we have to go through in order to operate the plant. But that is scheduled to be complete in the fall and hopefully tested and online in January. We have a lot of work going on with the Gulfa pump station, as well as the transmission mains coming into Gulfa. That's over on Lake Catherine Road. We closed today on $68 million in bonds that'll be taking care of the next efforts in that particular project. You actually have one on your board, on your meeting tonight, that's about $9.5 million. That'll be part of this bond that we closed on today. The Davidson projects, those are also moving along rather well. That's probably going to finish somewhere around mid-27. Portions of that, but a lot of it's going to come online in 26. We're hoping to have the Gulf pump station complete again fall of this year. That's a big undertaking, and looking forward to bringing that on. We've had some serious issues, as you're well aware, over on that Gulf pump station. We've got two brand new mains, and with this, if you pass the item tonight, we'll start our first Gulf of Force main project. There'll be 4 of those plus Spring Street, and those will start really by tomorrow once we approve this. We've got the contractor ready. He's ready. We've got the pipe in place, and just need this tonight to begin that work. Spring Fling, that's something that is very popular within the city, and that's our solid waste department. They'll be hosting the annual Spring Fling Saturday, April the 26th, and Sunday, April the 27th. This is an area where we set out roll-off containers, construction boxes in every district of the city. Residents are able to clean out the garage, spruce up the yard, ditch unwanted items. All of these roll-offs will be there for that convenience of disposal. We'll have staff at each one of the sites monitoring those, but that's always been a big event. I think one year we had over 300 tons that were brought in over that one weekend, but it gives an opportunity to really spruce up our properties during spring and making our neighborhoods look much better than they would had we not had that, and it's all free of charge. So if residents have bulky items that they want to get rid of, they're going to be accepting everything except hazardous waste, tires, things of that nature. The finance has completed the 2025 annual budget book, coming off the heels of winning the comprehensive financial report, which is, I think, was the 31st year, if I recall that correctly. And that's not a gimme to win that award. It's the highest achievement that can be bestowed upon a city from the GFOA. The 2025 annual budget book, as now that it's complete, I'm sure finance will be submitting that to GFOA as well for their review. We've had 11 various staff members all recently completed an 8-week supervisory academy course through Southwest Employee Assistance Program. That's one of the programs that's rather new for us, but I was glad to see 11 of our employees taking the opportunity to move through that supervisory academy. Parks and Trails Department, the Mentor statue was created by sculptor Michael Warwick. It was officially installed at the Gene White Wallace Trailhead, which is at the end of the Television Hill Road. We grew up calling it TV Hill Road. The interactive representational bronze sculpture is a female figure with small birds with gold leaf decoration, and it is a distinct expression of hope and inspiration, and is in honor of Gene White Wallace. So very proud to get that up. That trailhead is very close to being complete, and we'll be glad to see that. We've already had a lot of people over the weekend. I was getting text messages and emails from people that went down that far on the trail and really loved that particular section of the Greenway Trail. As you know, this will complete from the Hot Springs Transportation Depot all the way to Lake Hamilton, which is there just on the other side of the trailhead at the Gene White Wallace Trailhead. So want to congratulate all of them. Also want to again congratulate Longwall Zoo, who last Monday, many of you were there, dedicated the newest addition to our downtown, which is the sculpture of the visitor. That's been 5, 6, maybe 8 years in the making. Very pleased to see that. It turned out great. The statue's great. The base is wonderful, and really had a good turnout for that. So wanted to again recognize Longwall Zoo for his work and just making Hot Springs a little more beautiful than what it was the day before. Mayor, that's my report.
Very good. Thank you very much. Moving on, we'll hear from individual directors on announcements of upcoming events. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to invite everyone to bring your children, grandchildren, and in my case, great-grandchildren, to the Easter egg hunt that is scheduled for Saturday, April 19th at the Elks Lodge at 132 Abbott Place. It's just off Section Line, and there are different areas for different age groups, so everyone will enjoy the Easter egg hunt with over 1,500 eggs that are already prepared to, and by Saturday there will be more. Also, it's with great honor and pleasure that I want to announce the Hot Springs Fire Department groundbreaking ceremony that's scheduled for Wednesday, April 30th at 4 p.m. at 131 First Security Way, just off of Central South. And please come. This has been a long time in the making, and it's something that ever since I ran for office that's been I've been an advocate for, and everyone in South Hot Springs can't wait for this to become a reality. So be a part of this on April 30th at 4 p.m. Thank you.
Very good. Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Garcia was mentioning something about a Easter egg hunt. I don't recall the times.
1 to 3.
1 to 3, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other, Director Holliday?
Thank you. I'm excited to announce our annual huge art festival coming up soon. Art Springs, which is hosted by the Hot Springs Area Cultural Alliance, will be Saturday and Sunday, April 26th and 27th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Hill Wheatley Plaza. It's a 2-day event. Like I said, it's free, family-friendly. There's artists, children's activities, live performances the entire time. So it's a good, 2 weekends in a row to take your kids and grandkids and yourself out to have some good free fun. So hope to see you at Hill Wheatley Plaza on the 26th and 27th. Thanks.
Very good. Any additional announcements of upcoming events? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These are of a routine nature that do not merit individual discussion. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, as amended, actually. Director Garcia, seconded by Director Webb. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Moving on, we have one item. Oh, excuse me. We do have some individuals who are appointed to boards and commissions that are here, being appointed to the Animal Control Advisory Committee. Mr. Paul Kagabine. I worked on it all week. Thank you. And it's also spelled right this time. I'll use that as a crutch. And then we have Miss Brittany Turner, Hot Springs Community Development Advisory Committee. Is Brittany here? There she is. Thank you very much. And then Hot Springs Historic District Commission, Andrea Fuller Freeman. There she is right here in the second row. And then Hot Springs Waterworks Advisory Committee, Roxana Wallace. Roxana, there you are. Thank you. These are but like 4 of maybe, I don't know, might have been 25 people who are appointed to boards and commissions through this action. We have a few more that we'll be taking up here in a second or two. So there are many ways to serve Hot Springs, and certainly being on a board or committee of the city is one such way. And we cover all gamuts of our life here in Hot Springs, and there's always a opportunity to serve in a capacity where you might have an interest or a certain area of expertise. So always stay tuned. There's opportunities annually. So thank you. Moving on to the one item of old business, we have to consider ordinance O-25-13 and entertain a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director Webb, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance O-25-13, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6454, regulating short-term residential rental businesses within the city of Hot Springs, Arkansas, providing an exception for veterans with service-connected permanent and total disability rating and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Webb, seconded by Director.
Here.
I understand your name. I need, are you seconding the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
Mayor, I need to recuse myself on this one.
Okay, we have one recusal. We have a staff report. City Attorney Brian Albright will provide for that.
Thank you, Mayor. As the board's aware, this came before you previously this year and was tabled until tonight's meeting. Our short-term residential business licenses are limited in residential zones to 400. Commercial zones are not limited. The purpose of this ordinance is twofold, actually. Director Webb had requested that we bring forward some provisions for disabled veterans. Since that was going to be brought to you in the form of an ordinance, I also brought to you an amendment in section 1 of the ordinance, which deals with the residential zones. You may recall that prior to this year, we had R1, R2, R3, R4, RL, PD. Those no longer exist. They're residential zones, and so I've simplified it by just referring to those residential zones. With respect to disabled veterans, this would provide for an additional 25 licenses that would be available to those U.S. veterans that have a service-connected permanent total disability rating. They would provide evidence of that in the form of a letter from the Department of Veteran Affairs. And if they were able to do that, then the 400 cap would not apply. There would be an additional 25 available to those who met that criteria.
Any questions of Brian? Director Holliday?
It's not for the city attorney, but I do have some questions for staff, so I don't know if we want to wait until after any comment, or if we...
Well, I think this would be an appropriate time because we're receiving.
I will add this, Mayor, I should have already. As of today, there are 399 who have reapplied to renew their license for this year, and staff believes that there is a remaining license owner that is going to renew. They have, a couple more weeks, but it is at 399 as of today, with one more expected.
Okay, and that was pretty much my question, because I knew we had our March numbers, but it's been a couple weeks, so I was curious where we were currently. So, thank you. That's what I needed.
Okay. Any further questions of our city attorney? Okay, we have one individual signed up to speak on this ordinance, and that's Jacqueline Fleming. Jacqueline, you here? Please feel free to come on up and reintroduce yourself and your address and district, please.
I'm Jacqueline Fleming. I'm in District 4, and I just wanted to take a moment to come up here and say thank you all for giving this topic the time of day, and that's all. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's all that signed up to speak on this. Discussion amongst the board. Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I have heard from my constituents that are overwhelmingly against raising the cap of what the board spent considerable amount of time developing the short-term rental ordinance. And they do not want the cap raised. The city has a goal of affordable housing. Statistics have shown that as we increase short-term rentals, we decrease our long-term rentals, and even some mothers, single mothers with children, were displaced from their home because of their rental property being converted to a short-term rental. I believe that with the current numbers today at $3.99, and based on the current trends in February, it went from $4.12 to $4.01 in March. Now it's $3.99. We don't know what the next few months are going to bring, but the trend shows that what was over $4.25, which was grandfathered in at the end of the year that the ordinance was adopted, has continued to decrease, which has helped with affordable housing. I believe that we don't want to open up a can of worms in raising the cap. I believe in helping veterans. I believe in helping disabled veterans. I also believe in helping disabled firefighters, retired, or firefighters, law enforcement, EMTs, and others. If we open this up, where will it end? Can we look at helping those without raising the cap? Therefore, I move to amend and delete Section 1, Paragraph E2.
For the benefit of the board, that's on page 80 and 81 of your packet.
have a question. And it's to your motion. By doing that, does that not just put us right back where we are? Is that not the same as voting no? Am I missing something else that's different in
Well,
this?
actually, it wouldn't, because paragraph 1 under subsection E deals with the amendment from R1, R2, R3, R4
Okay.
over to just residential.
Thank you.
So it
I
would
appreciate
it would
that.
leave that in place.
Okay. Thank you. Then I will second Director Garcia's motion.
Discussion.
Can you read what that even states? I mean, I'm looking at it here, but can we share it with everybody?
Sure. So section 1 of this ordinance modifies the previous ordinance 6454, which is codified at Hot Springs Code section 1610-2, subparagraph E. And so when you look at E deals with the maximum number. Paragraph 1 under E deals with the regular residential licenses. 2 under E, which is what Director Garcia has brought out, is the section that would create the additional 25 licenses for U.S. veterans with service-connected permanent and total disability rating. It would eliminate from 2 all the way down to where section 2 begins.
So in essence, that's voting down this ordinance, is it not?
It's voting down what you intended to bring.
It keeps the cap from being increased. Definitely.
I would argue is, how do you determine what a trend is? How do you say that a trend happens in a matter of 60 days?
It's been over the last 2 years. It's trended down. If you look at all of our reports.
And once we look at the numbers now, a lot of the reason why maybe that trend is coming down is because there are current STR owners who don't want it anymore, but there could be however many who have been sitting back waiting on opportunities to submit their STR licenses. And so once that news gets out, more applications could come back in. We don't know what the certainties are in that respect, but what we do know is here in Hot Springs, there are 2,500 veterans here in Hot Springs. Out of that 2,500 veterans here in Hot Springs, it is estimated that there are between 400 and 600 who are disabled. A large portion of that 400 to 600 are permanently disabled. One is in this room here tonight. And 400 STR licenses represents 1% of the total population of Hot Springs at 36,000. 25 additional licensures for STR licensures for permanently disabled veterans represents 1% of the veterans here in Hot Springs at 2,500. So an extension of that isn't outrageous at all. And even so, let me just read to you what I had submitted to the board earlier as we tried to pass this ordinance. Many American veterans leave their families, travel to unfamiliar territories to face unknown and unspeakable battles, and if they are lucky, return back to the United States. In many cases, when American veterans return back to home soil, they return carrying service-connected injuries, both physical and mental, such as loss of limbs, cancer, mental health problems, organ diseases, back injuries, and several others which result in a permanent disability. These permanent disabilities severely hinder a veteran's ability to maintain steady employment. Having this amendment or this ordinance to grant STR licensure to local permanently disabled veterans will give the city of Hot Springs the commendable action of giving back to veterans for all they have done for us. It will also help provide a major prevention tool to veterans to not fall below the poverty line so that they may enjoy a peaceful quality of life. It's my opinion that we vote down this amendment and that we pass this ordinance.
Okay, Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I volunteer with the organization that serves veterans, disabled veterans, on a monthly basis. And with the percentage of the number of people that are disabled veterans, then that's 1.8 0.66% of our population. However, this would give that population 6% of the license, which is disproportionate. Of those that have not renewed their license, that I have personally talked to, because some of them were in my district and some of them were in the city and adjoining districts, told me that it did not pan out to be as profitable as they thought it was going to be when they first entered into a short-term rental license, and what they thought was going to happen didn't happen. They couldn't afford to stay in it. And again, I support veterans. I support law enforcement. I support law enforcement. I don't want what a population of Hot Springs has overwhelmingly told me. They do not want the cap raised. I want to find a way to serve all of the people without raising the cap. And that is why I offered this amendment. And I ask for the board to consider that when they vote of what the people of Hot Springs want.
Director Holliday.
Thank you. So I wanted to expand a little bit on Director Garcia's point. When this came up before, I actually spent a lot of time going through it because I personally am not a veteran, but some of the closest people in my life are and are disabled veterans, and I spend a lot of time communicating with them about how they felt about it, and some are residents of Hot Springs and some aren't, but they were overwhelmingly in support of leaving the cap where it was, that if the city wanted to take on programs in support of veterans, whether it's about employment or housing, that there are probably better opportunities to do that elsewhere. And so, again, you know, I didn't want to come to this lightly or without information, but I did, like I said, spend a long time really talking about it and debating it, and that's why I seconded Director Garcia's amendment that I think by raising the cap, it doesn't necessarily address the overarching conversation, but it does step backwards a lot of time and energy that this board has put forward in trying to find a really solid balance for our short-term rental ordinance. So I am definitely for this amendment, and then obviously for Section 1 correcting that language. So thank you.
Director Webb.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think what's missing here tonight are those that are speaking out against it. I'm hearing a lot from a director that there are residents who are against the cap being increased, but nobody is here tonight to shed that light upon us for themselves. But who is here tonight is someone who is a permanently disabled veteran who 100% supports this ordinance as it is. So again, there is somebody here who lives in Hot Springs who is a local permanently disabled veteran who supports what we're trying to do with this ordinance. She is here tonight. She just spoke to us. She said she is for it. What we should do is pass this ordinance, vote down this amendment, and pass this ordinance. Thank you.
You know, when I listened to the various comments this evening, I don't look at us as yes, we're going to add 25, but it's not 25 to the general population. It's 25 to, you know, disabled veterans. So that's a whole nother category. So I don't necessarily see us going from 400 to 425. We still have the 400, and then we would have this other category for 25. And the 25, and Director Garcia made this comment indirectly, you know, perhaps the 25 is too high. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be 25, maybe it has to be 10. But a valid point that she did make is that we're creating a category for a single group. You know, it could be, and she outlined, it could be first responders, it could be disabled firemen, disabled police officers, other first responders. So, you know, it does kind of create an opportunity that another group could come forward, or we could create a group that would try to catch them all. I don't necessarily have a problem with the veterans category, disabled veterans category, but maybe the number's too high. But I don't see us necessarily increasing it. Yeah, if we're adding 25, but it's in a whole nother category. Other thoughts? Director Beard?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not for sure if I remember exactly from when Miss Jacqueline came the first time, but did we ask her to make some kind of modifications for her house so that she could meet the requirements for STR?
No, actually, I think I led the commentary on that. I was very resistant to having her move forward because the state legislature was addressing the matter, and we didn't want her to expend funds needlessly if our ordinance was really struck down and had no teeth, and the state was going to take over this category of review and regulation.
Right, but I thought she said that they made or can we ask her if they made modifications anyway, or because I was under the impression that they already spent money on their home to make.
Well, they may have, but they didn't have an application and they didn't have an inspection. We did not tell them to do that. Ms. Fleming, you want to come up and provide clarity? Thank you.
As far as that modification goes, that had to do with when I think my husband was speaking on the fact that we had got brand new windows and something to do with whatever those modifications are and things of that nature. I didn't make modifications based on anything that has to do with STRs or whatever. We just got brand new windows and they're awesome, big windows. But anyway, I do want to say that depending on what y'all say tonight is whether or not I have to sell my house or not. So just put that out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to share this with the board and others too, as we're, I heard a couple of directors mention, a single specific group. Let's keep in mind that we have put over $1 million for a resource center, that does kind of lean itself towards particular groups. So I don't think it's out of our realm to provide this accommodation for those who essentially give us our freedom. That isn't too much to ask.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. I'm just going to add one thing from the research that I did and the conversations that I had, specifically speaking to someone who's a former veterans constituent advocate for a congressman who specifically worked with the VA and making sure that veterans got their benefits. And they said that, and I can't speak to Ms. Fleming's specific situation at all. However, based on VA benefits, those who are most at risk for having difficulty with their finances are those that are in the 60 to 80% disabled range because of the type of benefits that the VA gives once you hit 100% permanent service-connected disability. It's those who fall slightly under that may have very similar disabilities, may have similar challenges, but don't have that level of financial support from the VA. And so I don't feel right saying 100% service connected based on the information that I've been provided from somebody who's a professional in the field. I also don't know enough to say that 80 would make sense, or 60 would make sense, or anybody with any disability rating would make sense. I think that it's, for the purposes of our city and this ordinance, it's a different conversation. And you did speak about the resource center. The resource center is for anyone who needs resources, not a specific subset of the population. It's anyone who needs resources. It is not a homeless shelter. It is a resource center. So, yes, we're putting money towards that, and that's a place where people who might have benefited from this could benefit, from the resource center and having housing supports there. So, I am still absolutely in favor of the amendment, but I encourage us to get creative to see if there is something else that makes more sense, so we can support those in our community who are having issues with housing and their finance, particularly veterans, because I 110% agree with where you're coming from on this. I just don't think this is the right place to put it for our city after all the work that we've done.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a final comment. So it's in the public that I support veterans. I'm an ancestor of a Revolutionary War veteran of World War I, World War II. I had relatives come back with a flag over their coffin. My dad, multiple relatives, and I'm not a veteran, but I know freedom isn't free. And I support our veterans. I would like us to look at a way to support them without raising the cap on this particular item. It has nothing to do with supporting or not supporting our veterans. Thank you.
Well, if we reduce the number of 25 to 10, is that something that would be supported?
That would require a separate amendment, if I understand it. Is that right, City Attorney?
Yes, Director, you're not afforded the ability to make an amendment to an amendment. This amendment would have to either be pulled down, voted up or down, before you would move to a different type of amendment.
Call the question.
What's the procedure on calling the question?
Calling for the question requires a second and a vote of 2/3 of quorum. You now have 6 people here, that would be 4.
Is there a second to the call on the question?
Second.
Roll call on the call of the question.
Can you restate what we're voting on, please?
You're essentially voting to cease debating on the amendment that's on the floor and to vote on the amendment that's on the floor.
But right now, you're voting to whether or not to cease debate.
Yes.
Takes 4 votes to cease debate. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday?
Aye.
Beard?
No.
Webb?
No.
Garcia?
Aye.
Trustee?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
No.
3-3.
We can continue to have discussion. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I think one amendment that I would consider, and I know this is out of the realm of the amendment that Director Garcia has out, but it is something pertaining to what you were sharing with the board just a few minutes ago in regards to the number. Add 10 to 50, add 10, I think is what your suggestion was initially. Or another option could be to reduce the cap to 375 and allow the remaining.
Point of order. We're discussing the amendment.
Yeah.
Is this proper discussion of something, what if?
We should just restrict back to the ordinance in front of us with her amendment. We can vote it up or we can vote it down. If we vote it down, there can be further discussion, additional amendments.
Thank you, Mayor. I still support voting this amendment down.
Is there any further discussion on the ordinance as amended?
I have a question. I was under the impression that our vote was just whether or not to call the question. It was not on the amendment itself.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay, so we're still discussing, and our next
Correct.
vote is only on the amendment,
That would
not
be correct.
on
Correct.
the ordinance. Okay.
Yeah, and
Just making sure.
Well, yeah, the mayor misspoke when he said as amended. You're just voting on the amendment.
Thank you.
If that passes, then
Then
you'll
we would
have
roll
a possible vote on as amended. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, call the roll.
Director Beard,
No.
Webb,
No.
Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
No.
Holliday,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
No. Motion to amend fails.
The original motion is still on the
Still on the table.
Mayor, I would like to offer an amendment to change that number 25 down to 5 or 10. I'd start with 5. I don't think we have a lineup to come in and make application for this, so I would start with 5 and let's see where that goes.
We have a motion to amend section, well, I think we all know where we're at here.
Section 1,
E2.
To
paragraph.
E2A from 25 such licenses to 5 such
5.
licenses.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I need a second. Third time, need a second. Motion to amend dies for lack of a second. Further discussion. If there's no further discussion, we'll call the roll. Call the roll.
Director Webb,
Aye.
Garcia,
No.
Trustee,
No.
Holliday,
No.
Beard,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance fails 3-3. Moving on to new business. We have some carryovers from the consent agenda. We'll go in the order in which they were presented on the consent agenda, which will begin with, let's say item 60. We're going to consider resolution R-25-60, and I ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-60, a resolution appointing Alex Mouton, Trent Foreman, and Scott Locke to the Hot Springs Airport Advisory Committee. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion, second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. And City Clerk Harmony Morrissey will provide the staff report.
All right, thank you. Hot Springs Code 11-1-1 provides for a city airport advisory committee that's composed of 5 citizens who are qualified electors of the city who serve for 4-year terms. The Airport Advisory Committee has the following duties and responsibilities: to assist the city manager and the airport director in evaluating the policies and procedures for the airport, to review and recommend revisions to such policies and procedures, to make recommendations to the city manager and board of directors concerning the development and use of airport properties and facilities, and advise the city manager, city staff, and board of directors in other matters relative to the operations of the municipal airport. Positions 1, 3, and 5 on the Airport Advisory Committee expire on May 1st. The Board of Directors did interview candidates at a special meeting held on Tuesday, April 8th. They interviewed and then made nominations to the expiring positions. The resolution before you has been prepared based on the nominations made that evening, which were to appoint Alex Mouton, Trent Foreman, and Scott Locke to the Airport Advisory Committee. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Harmony? Hearing none, I'll call on Director Webb. You asked that this be pulled from the consent agenda. What are your thoughts or concerns?
Thank you, Mayor. We did conduct interviews for all the applicants, and we had a lot of applicants, so that was really great to see. I just had a few questions as to why we are where we are with not just this advisory but another. And I think what might be the best setting is to make a motion to retire to exec, to have that conversation, and then return to the floor. Can we do that?
What's your purpose for executive session?
Executive session purpose is to examine these candidates and have a discussion as to.
No, we already did that last week. I understand that you had to leave early due to a family engagement, but
Right.
we discussed it. Your consideration was provided to me, And we had good discussion in executive session, and where your consideration would have tipped the balance, I made the rest of the board known of that, you know, but nobody got listed within the respective resolution that did not have the majority of the support, meaning that they had at least 4.
Right.
So I'm not in favor of returning to executive session.
That's all I had.
Thank you. Any directors have other discussions regarding R-25-60? No. Director Beard, did you want to have comment?
Well, I actually prepared a statement for board commentary, but because it's in regard to this, this number, is it -60 or whatever number it is? I just will share it now. And I don't know if your comments, Director Webb, were regarding this, but I said this. I just want my concerns to be noted. And that is that we advertise these positions to the public. Members of the public then invest a good amount of time in completing the forms, presenting themselves, and summoning the courage to address the board. Then they're under the illusion that these positions are actually open to the public and the applicants have a fair shot of being appointed, when in reality, the board has a tendency to prioritize staff recommendations over the actual applicant pool. I suggest that we do not waste time of the members of the public. Either accept recommendations and don't open it up to the public, or either open it up to the public and don't accept recommendations. We should be transparent either way. And that is in regard to this number right here.
Very good. Any other comments of the board? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith? Director Dobbs-Smith?
Aye.
Webb?
No.
Garcia?
Aye.
Trustee?
Aye.
Holliday? Aye. Beard?
No.
Mayor McCabe?
Aye. Resolution R-25-60 is adopted. Now we'll move to R-25-63 and ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-63, a resolution appointing Bruce Jones to the Hot Springs Civil Service Commission. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia, and the staff report will be provided by Ms. Harmony Morrissey, City
you.
Clerk.
Arkansas Code annotated section 1451-201 states that in all cities of the first class having a civil service system, the city's governing bodies shall name 5 upright and intelligent citizens for their cities as Board of Civil Service Commissioners. Commissioners shall be citizens of the state of Arkansas and residents of the city for more than 3 years preceding their appointments, and qualified electors of the city, and remain qualified electors of the city at all times during their appointments. No commissioner shall hold or be a candidate for any political office under any national, state, county, or municipal government, or be connected in any way in an official capacity with a political party or political organization. All commissioners are required to be familiar with the statutes, civil rights laws, and other state and federal public employment laws. Skipping ahead. The Civil Service Commission holds regular meetings. Position 5 on the Civil Service Commission has a term that expires April 7th of this year, and these are for 6-year terms. The Board of Directors interviewed candidates at a special meeting held on April 8th and made a nomination for appointment to the expiring position. The resolution before you this evening was prepared based on that nomination and appoints Bruce Jones to the Civil Service Commission for a term of 6 years.
Here again, Director Webb, you asked that this be pulled and acted on individually.
Thank you, Mayor. The line of question I have here is going to sound very similar to what I had for R-25-62. I just know on this date, a week ago, there were 4 initial applicants for this position on the Civil Service Commission. 1 did withdraw. that day, Tuesday, so that left 3, and out of the 3, one had decades of experience in law enforcement, one had decades of experience in fire, and one had neither of those two, but is great. You know, I've got nothing against Mr. Jones himself. I don't really know who he is, but I know he sounded very eloquent, and I know he holds a great position here in the city of Hot Springs, but I just question why we would steer away from the merit of those other 2 candidates to elect someone that didn't have that type of, you know, background either in law enforcement or fire. You know, one of the statements here as qualifications for civil service commissioners that they're required to be familiar with statutes, civil rights laws, other state and public employment laws as it relates, you know, to first responders, or excuse me, fire and police. And that was the question that I was going to ask if given the chance to.
Any other comments, or Director Beard?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just read the rest of my statement in regards to this ordinance. In selecting civil service commissioners, we should have some set guidelines instead of moving the goalpost and not putting those goalposts in writing to reject certain candidates. It would be great to have a voice on the commission that reflects half the population of the city of Hot Springs. It would even be better if we could get at least one member who was born after the Kennedy assassinations.
Any other discussion? Director Garcia?
I will make a comment that I'm one member of the board, and whether my vote is in the majority or the minority when a board makes a decision, I stand with the board because I'm part of the board. The majority voted differently than maybe I did. That doesn't matter. I will be a board member and support. I won't go contrary, making negative comments about our board, because sometimes I win and sometimes I lose on my votes. But when we go into executive committee, that is private. We do not comment on anything that's said in executive committee or how the support or non-support goes. And I am feeling for people that are being voted on in these committees after they had a majority support. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. Director Webb?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. I respect Director Garcia's comments. That's why I tried to make that motion to go to exec, is to ask these questions. And I'm going to respect where our board is with this decision, and I will be voting yes to this particular resolution as it stands, because that is the way that the board did carry out its duties under exec, and that's where I am. But I did have some questions. It wasn't necessarily to find fault or to provide any type of negative retract towards the board. It was just to gain some understanding of why we are where we are, and I expressed that earlier. Thank you.
Please call the roll.
Director Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McKay.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. We'll now move to consider Resolution R-25-77. Ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-77, a resolution awarding a bid to Daniel Air and Electric, Inc. for a walk-in cooler and walk-in freezer at the Community Resource Center. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion, second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, second by Director Garcia. We can move ahead with a staff report. Thank you, Ron.
Good evening. Staff recommends approval of the contract and installation of a walk-in freezer and cooler in the amount of $102,850. Request was bids was duly advertised and issued. Only one bidder responding, Daniel Heat and Air, was the only responsible bidder. at a cost of that $102,850. A notice of intent to award this bid to Daniel was published and no protests were received. Walk-in freezer and cooler will allow the more storage for the operation of the Community Resource Center.
Any questions? And again, Director Webb, you asked that this be pulled.
Right, thank you, Mayor. So, as far as the payment for this walk-in freezer is concerned, the information that was shared to us is that the funds are available in the 2025 budget?
Correct.
Is that correct? Yes, sir. Where did those funds come from? Were those funds already in the budget for the Resource Center, or were there transfers?
Well, 3 of the accounts that are being used are CBDG funds, and the remainder is coming out of building improvements in the amount of $19,000, just over $19,000, but it was budgeted this year.
Building improvements under what line item?
Community Resource Center.
Okay. That was a question I had. I saw those numbers. I think one is 390.2.
Those are the CBDG funds.
Okay. And then the 001, that's the 19,000?
Yes, sir.
That's from line item for the Resource Center?
Correct.
Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Director Garcia?
I would just like to emphasize that this isn't a refrigerator and a freezer like I would have at my home. This is a commercial
Correct.
size. I mean, all of us right here could fit inside.
They're both 8 by
Yeah.
10s.
And so this is going to facilitate what will be occurring for the future in the Resource Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Does the facility have to be modified to house these? I mean,
We have 2 rooms selected to put these in, and they will have to be slightly modified, mainly bringing electrical to them. But other than
I'm
that,
not
it's-
referring to that, but just structurally, they're okay? I mean,
Yes.
not moving walls or doors. I know they set these in place. I mean, they build them inside the room,
Correct.
put the panels together.
We do have a couple of doors that will be in addition, so you'll be able to move out of the kitchen into what is currently a storage room, which will become part of this particular area. So there are a couple of doors that we'll have to put as we make these modifications. Anthony Taylor, did these pro bono drawings for us to help us with that resource center. So there are some improvements, some additional improvements that need to be made. They need to be made regardless of this item. As we move into having a washing area, we've already got several of the office set up, and I probably should have covered it on my board report, but if you've got questions about all the groups that are coming in partnering with the center in the last month, I'll be glad to share that. But there will be a couple of doors that'll need to be done for this particular item.
Did it surprise you that you only got one bid on that?
It did. This is the second time we put it out to bid. The first time we put it out to bid, we only had one bidder the first time, and the cost came in at about $110,000. So Denny and I reviewed the bids and decided to reject them. And then we put it out to bid again, and we only had one bidder the second time.
So when you put it out to bid, do you go to, I guess you went to an electric company versus maybe going to a commercial kitchen supply house?
The commercial kitchen supply houses, they do sell them, but they do not install them. So we did go to electrical companies and refrigeration companies.
As well as our bids, Arkansas bids. It was out and went out to several hundred different entities.
Okay. Any additional comments or questions? Director Garcia?
I would just note that this particular vendor does donate a lot
yeah.
in the community and has helped a lot of nonprofits, and I think that's why they came in with a lower bid than previously.
Correct.
All right, there being no further questions, I know that nobody was able to sign up on this, and I apologize for not giving other people an opportunity on these others. Did anybody in the audience want to talk on this resolution? Seeing none, thank you. Please call the roll.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
No.
Webb.
No.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, resolution is adopted. We'll move on to resolution R-25-79 and ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-79, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 104 Fred Place a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Webb, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. Staff report will be provided by Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. This is a request proposing condemnation for the purpose of demolishing and clearing a vacant structure at 104 Fred Place. On April 1st, 2024, the Neighborhood Services Division received a complaint regarding the structure at the address. The complaint stated that the owner was deceased, that the structure was open, and people and animals were going in and out of the structure. The owner is deceased, and having inspected the structure and based on the requirements of the code, the structure was deemed unsafe for habitation because of extensive structural damage to the roof, broken and missing windows. Due to the inability of the property owner to make repairs to stabilize and having no reasonable alternative, we are recommending that the structure should be raised and removed. And this was turned over to an attorney ad litem for the purpose of investigating ownership, and the attorney was not able to locate anyone. I will mention that someone who was here earlier in the audience provided me with some information regarding a possible owner. That was about an hour ago, so we haven't had any opportunity to investigate that. But nonetheless, the property is a nuisance in the neighborhood, and the recommendation to you is condemnation for the purpose of removing and clearing the property.
Any questions? Excuse me, any questions of Ms. Selman? Hearing none. Do we have anybody sign up to speak?
No, sir.
No one signed up to speak. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. Moving on to consider resolution R-25-80. Ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-80, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 1100 Park Avenue a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Director
moved.
Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. And again, Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development, will provide the staff report.
Thank you. This is a request concerning condemnation for the purpose of securing and abating violations to Hot Springs Property Maintenance Code at 1100 Park Avenue, Hot Springs, Garland County, Arkansas. This is a vacant multifamily dwelling that has remained unsecure and has been subjected to graffiti in several locations. The property is owned by Chajen LLC of Wiley, Texas. The LLC is owned by Mr. Jason Nguyen and his wife Jennifer Nguyen. Mrs. Nguyen is also listed as the registered agent with the Texas Secretary of State. The property, which also included the identical building at 1102 Park Avenue, was purchased from the previous owner in October of 2020. Chapter 1 of the Hot Springs Property Maintenance Code, Section 17-1-8, abatement by the city, states if the owners of the house, building, and/or structure constituting a nuisance have not obtained the required permits and commenced work to repair, rehabilitate, secure, raise, and remove, or otherwise abate said nuisance within 30 days after the posting of the true copy of the resolution at a conspicuous place on said house, building, and/or structure, said house, building, and/or structure constituting the nuisance will be repaired, boarded, and secured, or raised and removed as may be necessary to abate the nuisance by the city manager or his designated representative. This allows the city not only to raise and remove unsafe structures that have been condemned by the Board of Directors, but also allows the city to make necessary repairs to prevent further damage to the structure. In the case of this structure, should the board decide to proceed with the condemnation, the city would request bids from contractors to remove the graffiti from the exterior of the structure, and windows and doors would be secured in a manner that complies with the property maintenance code. Due to the inability or unwillingness of the property owner to make the necessary repairs, we are requesting that the structure be condemned for the purchase of repairing and securing the structure.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Garcia?
In our information, it stated that when the neighborhood services manager had attempted to issue a citation, that the citation was returned unopened.
Mm-hmm.
Was it received and sent back or never received?
The green card was returned to the office signed. This was in 2023. Is that the incident you're speaking of? March 17, 2023. However, Mrs. Nguyen failed to appear for an April 11, 2023 court date.
So that means that, for clarification, when they signed the green card, they received it, but then they sent that back to the city. Is that correct?
The green card came back to the city.
Signed.
Yes.
So they received it.
Yes.
That's documentation they received it.
That's
But
documentation, they received that one, yes. Mhm.
And then since then, with the attorney ad litem, and was information received?
There is a letter from the attorney ad litem. Let me locate that. It is in here, but there are many other things in
Yes,
here
yeah,
as
there's a
well.
lot there. I know, it's a big file.
Okay. The letters sent by the attorney ad litem, Nicholas French, 6 letters were sent to Chajen LLC, and copy of the returned letters were provided back. They were unopened.
Received but sent back, unopened and sent back.
Yes, they were returned by the post office to us, undelivered to the addressee.
And I believe that the property taxes were current on this property, but
They
the
are.
winds had not paid the property taxes?
The record indicates, I believe, that Monolith has paid the most recent taxes.
Is Monolith a part of this LLC that is part of that owns this property?
Monolith was a prior owner, I believe.
Hot Springs Hospitalities was a previous owner. If I could try to simplify this a little bit, this particular LLC is a Texas LLC. They did not register as a foreign LLC with the Arkansas Secretary of State, and so therefore there was not a registered agent within the state of Arkansas which to serve. And so, pursuant to the state statutes that I shared with you all last week in a memo, you treat them as an unknown or out-of-state owner, and so you do a constructive notice, which is the certified copy of the legal notice that's published in the Sentinel Record, part of your packet. Service has been perfected.
Yes, yes. I mean, the memo you drafted was excellent, very simple to understand for a layperson like myself. But I would ask if and when it would be recommended by the city attorney to foreclose on any of these items that we keep paying for someone else to, that we take care of their properties, that you would advise us of that.
Any additional questions of Ms. Selman? Director Trustee.
Thank you, Mayor. Kathy, this, the reason we're doing this condemnation for the purpose of securing it, these properties are salvageable, in our opinion?
They may be salvageable, yes. Structurally, there is no indication that they would not be.
So that was my next one. They're structurally sound then. Okay. And how long, if there is a time period, how long do we keep them secured before we take the next step and file the foreclosure?
I really can't answer that question. We don't have any history of foreclosure on such properties. Once we have said that we are going to abate them, I believe our responsibility for securing is ongoing.
Yeah, I'll try to address that. First of all, the act of condemning the property gives the city the authority to go in the property and further assess it. In many instances, and I'm no structural engineer, but in many instances, the problem is the roof. These are essentially concrete buildings, and so it's not as though the walls are going to burn. But without a secure roof, eventually water infiltration is going to decay everything that's there. And so it's not an infinite amount of time that we're able to continue to do this. So further decisions will have to be made with respect to this property as well as the next one on your list.
All right.
Okay, any additional questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you. We have one individual that has signed up to speak against Resolution R-25-80, and I'll call upon Mr. John Girolamo to come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
John Girolamo, 600 Central Avenue, Hot Springs. Now, I'm with Monolith Properties, and this property has a particularly sad story. The family was involved in a car accident a while back. Most of the family died. The head of the family, I guess because the rest of his family was dead, is a recluse. Now, we've been up there and we've secured the building. I was up there this afternoon, and it is secure. Now, it becomes difficult when you have that kind of tragedy to go after someone and try to make their life even worse. So we're the ones that paid the taxes. we're the ones that have secured it. And I welcome anybody to drive up there today. Now, what we're going to have to do, because that is an LLC in Texas, and we have a 200,000+ mortgage on it, we're going to have to go to Texas. We're going to have to either get this guy, the husband, to actually sit him down. Maybe we could help. I don't know. But I know if I lost my whole family, I'd want a guy like me around. So I'd like you to postpone this condemnation order. And if I'm wrong, you can bring it up at the next meeting. But the building is secured. I did spend the money to secure the building. It was $1,800. We did pay the taxes. So and there's a particular person that is now handling this on a regular basis. So I believe if we put this aside for a while, let me go to Texas and try to do this in the most delicate manner that's possible. Other than that, you know, we have a history here of saving historic buildings. You know, and there's a number of buildings that we've saved. Places like the Vault, the Citizens Building, which 18 years ago I had to fight like crazy to save it from being demolished. And there's at least 10 other buildings that I've done the same thing for. Now, you know, history is his story. It's not my story. It's not her story. It's not even our story. But I would, you know, we still have at least 30 properties downtown. At one point,
John, let me ask, do we have any directors that have questions of John as it relates to this property? I guess my question is are you the owner? You're not the owner, but you're putting money into it? Monolith is?
I'm the CEO of that.
I understand. Okay, thank you. So, do you have title to this property, or?
No, we have we have the mortgage, the first secured mortgage on the property. The property was sold for $300,000. The buyers put $100,000 down and financed the $200,000.
The buyer are the people who were killed in the auto accident?
So, you know, it's an unusual situation, but, you know, I'm not going to go and make a guy's life miserable more than it is. Now, there are legal ways to do this, but I think I need to go to Texas and get the right answers first. And I don't want to be doing that if the city is going to go in and do something to destroy the building.
Well, I think what you heard, the city was going to do things that would secure the building.
We already secured it.
Well,
It's
but
secured.
not the roof penetration.
There's no penetration on the roof.
If you're the holder of the mortgage, then why would you just not foreclose?
Well, that's one of the processes, but you got to find a guy, the recluse that's running around because he lost his family. You know, you got to perfect service. Yes, I could put it in the paper in Dallas, but it should have been, like was presented here, registered in the state of Arkansas, which it was not. And the city never made a point of that. So, you know, you got a quagmire here. You know, so all I'm asking is, put this in abeyance until we get some more answers.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. So this is a little different than our usual condemnations because typically when we're talking about houses, it's condemnation for demolition. This is just to have access to secure, which I appreciate. You said you've already secured the building, but some of the other things that were in the list as far as work to be done included graffiti removal. Are you prepared to continue moving forward with getting the building in better shape?
Yes.
In which case, and I guess this would be either Director Selman or the city attorney can answer, even if we were to condemn the property so that we could have access to do these things, if they're done, then we wouldn't do them and liens would not be accrued, correct? We would just still maintain access if for whatever reason they were unsecure and you were not able to keep up with it or whatever moving forward.
That's a hypothetical question. We don't know what the condition is until we know.
Right. But with respect to secure, if it's secure, then it's secure. But I'm just saying with condemnation, even by moving forward with condemnation, the result could be that the city doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't guarantee that we have to do something because Mr. Girolamo may, quite frankly, beat us to the punch and handle it before we get there.
That's happened on more than one occasion, absolutely.
Okay.
The reason that I would encourage the board to go ahead and take action on the condemnation is because we have gone through the service process. We have engaged an attorney at law, and we have, you know, expended funds and effort to get service on this Texas LLC. And so I would hate to have to start over again. So if you would be so inclined to approve the condemnation, and of course, you know, we'll work with anyone who has interest in that property to keep it secured.
This doesn't eliminate your position that you hold at this moment. Whether it's a month from now, you're not going to lose the work you did so far. But to now condemn it will make it even more complicated, even if we perfect the foreclosure or whatever process we have to go through. You make it more complicated to bring in the proper developers to do this job. Condemnation has a certain element in the languaging of this type of property.
Any
This
further?
is a historic property.
Any further questions from board members to Mr. Girolamo?
I have one more question, if I may.
Please, Director Holliday.
When did you or any one of your companies first purchase this property?
We've had a number of corporations. Originally, when I got here almost 30 years ago, most of our property was acquired by Landmark Holding.
Okay, so.
Which is a company that came out of Miami, which did a lot of historic buildings in Miami.
So you have been involved with this property in one way or another for about 30 years, is what?
No, we bought it back probably 18 years.
Okay, and how many times have you sold it to a third party and then received it back?
Once.
One other time aside from
Once.
from this?
Just this once.
Okay, so you've never sold it to anyone
No.
else? Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions of Mr. Geronimo? Thank you. Discussion amongst directors? No discussion. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McKay.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll consider resolution R-25-81, and I ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-81, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 1102 Park Avenue a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. And again, Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development, will provide the staff report.
Thank you. The City of Hot Springs proposes condemnation for the purpose of securing and abating violations to the Hot Springs Property Maintenance Code at a vacant structure at 1102 Park Avenue, Hot Springs, Garland County, Arkansas. This is a vacant multifamily dwelling that has remained unsecured and been subjected to graffiti in several locations. The property is owned by Chajen LLC of Wiley, Texas. Chajen LLC is owned by Mr. Jason Nguyen and his wife Jennifer Nguyen. Mrs. Nguyen is also listed as the registered agent with the Texas Secretary of State. The property also includes the identical building which you just discussed at 1100 Park Avenue and was purchased from the previous owner in October of 2020. This building in January of 2024 was issued a notice to comply requesting that both open buildings be secured and that the graffiti be removed from exterior walls. In April of 2024, Neighborhood Services, using an approved city contractor, secured 6 openings at 1100 Park Avenue and 5 openings at 1102 Park Avenue, for which a lien has been filed. This was turned over to the attorney ad litem, and that information is included in the packet. The recommendation is that due to the inability or unwillingness of the property owner to make the necessary repairs, we request that the structure be condemned for the purpose of repairing and securing the structure.
Any questions of Ms. Selman on this resolution? Did we have anybody sign up to speak?
No, sir.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on resolution?
I just have one little thing.
Please come forward and you can speak into the mic and state your name, address, and district, please. Thank you.
I don't know what my district is. I live off Grand Point. Callista Sabella. I live 620 Grand Point, number 15. No, I was reading on the deed records and their address is 211 Fountain Street. So I don't know if where y'all been mailing it to. I know it says the records on the county records show Wiley, but their address for their deed and their mortgage goes to Fountain Street. So I don't know if y'all had sent letters. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Anybody else that wanted to speak on this resolution? Okay, discussion amongst directors. Director Beard?
Just so I'm clear, is she saying that the notice to condemn was sent to the wrong address?
No, ma'am. What she's saying is that the letter to condemn was sent to the registered address that's on file at the assessor and the collector's office, which is the authorized place for service. Apparently, they live elsewhere at this point in time.
And the separate question, so the taxes were paid on this property. What I'm concerned with this property and other properties is if the taxes are paid, is there a way we could send or contact the return address? I mean, whoever's paying taxes obviously has a vested interest in the property, and they probably don't want it torn or condemned. And I think if we could just go a step farther to contact someone. Sometimes the owner is deceased, sometimes they're in a bad accident like this one, but then sometimes people are paying taxes. And if someone is paying taxes, it is, I just can't imagine they're okay with the property being condemned or demolished. Is that something we could do, and like, could that be an ordinance or something?
That is something that the board could require, yes. I would point out, if I'm paying the taxes, I want them to send the taxes to my address. I'm going to give them my address so that I'm now the registered address on file. But if the board, obviously the board can go beyond what the law requires, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, because you're probably, or no, I wouldn't say probably, but you're smarter than most lay people who may not even live here. They're able to, they pay the taxes thinking that secures it for them. But you as an attorney know that it doesn't secure it as them, and they may not know that they need to have an address registered to a certain place. And we saw that on Garden Street.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
If I could say one thing.
Please.
Notice was provided to Monolith Properties. In this case, they are the people who paid the taxes, and the attorney ad litem did provide notice to them.
Well, so then my original question, I maybe misunderstood what 211 Fountain Street, is that another property that
That may be the address of Monolith.
It was a registered address at one time for Monolith Properties, yes.
Okay.
As is 600 Central, as is something Exchange. Yeah, there's a handful.
Any additional comments from the board, Director, Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, it's interesting to note in this limited title search, Monolith Properties name does not show up. There is no mortgage of record. The mortgage is executed in favor of Hot Springs Hospitality. Now, that may be a related company to Monolith, but and it has been assigned to Monolith Corporation, so I'm supposing that's why they're paying the taxes.
Hot Springs
mortgage.
Hospitality was a record title holder of this property at one
Right.
time, and that's the entity that conveyed it to the current owner. Hot Springs Hospitality, Inc. has now been revoked by the Secretary of State for
Okay.
whatever reason. It wasn't forfeited, it states it was revoked.
Okay.
And it does show that that mortgage was assigned to Monolith. So if Monolith has interest in this property as the assignee of a valid mortgage, then he is in a position to, or Monolith is in a position to foreclose.
When was the revocation of Hot Springs Hospitality?
That was,
Because this was assigned September 27th of '24. Do you have that?
it does not have a date on the revocation. It was filed originally July the 17th of 2016.
Okay.
It just shows status revoked.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any additional discussion amongst the board or questions of Brian? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. We'll now consider Resolution R-25-82 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-82, a resolution declaring certain structure, located at 320 Vine Street a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Holliday, seconded by Director Webb. And again, Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development, will provide the staff report.
Thank you. The City of Hot Springs proposes condemnation for the purpose of demolishing and clearing a vacant structure at 320 Vine Street. This is a single-family property owned by James Cook, deceased, and Marilyn Jackson of Russellville, Arkansas. On March 31st, 23, Neighborhood Services issued a notice to comply requesting that the roof of the structures be repaired. In February, of 24, Neighborhood Services Inspector Jenny Deaver posted the structure as unsafe to occupy based upon the fact that there is no active water service at the address. She then made contact with what turned out to be vagrants who were squatting in the structure and who scattered trash and debris around the property. A variety of efforts were made to get notices to comply to the owners. In August of 24, the property was cleaned by the city and the structure boarded and secured by the approved city contractor. Later than in the next month, the contractor cleared the trash and debris, cut the grass, and secured 8 openings. The steps to propose consideration of condemnation have been followed. However, when the proof of service was not received before a February 11th agenda meeting, the file was taken to the attorney ad litem. All notifications of this April 15th board meeting were made by the attorney ad litem, and proof of publication is documented by the Sentinel Record. Having inspected the structure and based on the requirements set forth in the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, Volume 2, Section 116, as well as the Hot Springs Property Maintenance Code, Section 111, the structure was deemed unsafe for habitation because of the extensive structural damage to the roof. Due to the inability of the property owner to make repairs to stabilize and having no reasonable alternative, we are recommending that the structure should be raised and removed.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Beard?
Thank you, Mayor. I just needed clarification. There was something I didn't understand on the residential card. Can you just explain that picture? I think it's page 17.
The residential card?
Yeah, it is residential card 1 photo.
I
And-
do not have all of those photos with me.
Okay, so so at the top of this, it's from the Garland County report, and at the top of it, it's the Garland County report, and it does list Marilyn Jackson at 320 Vine Street. Then it goes into the deed transfers, and then it says residential card. And then the residential card 1 details, and then there's a residential card 1 photo. And if you have it, it's page 17 of 25.
So that is the card in the record of the Garland County Assessor's Office typically.
I'm looking
Ooh.
for 17.
So it looks like this. That's 17.
It's the assessor's record.
So, okay, this is the assessor's record?
Yes.
So what is, I don't understand this house. What is this on the residential card photo? Why is that there?
Are you asking if something is in the record that doesn't belong there?
So my question, or for me to be more clear, is there are 2 pictures of there are 2 pictures of one house, or what's on the address?
She is in the limited title search. The limited title search is 25 pages. This is page 17 of that search, and yes. So your question is, are there 2 structures or just one?
Right. There are 2 different pictures of a house, And if we are voting to condemn a house, I want to make sure that the right house is.
Sure. I see one photo, one house.
So the picture on, okay, so the picture on page 17 is not 320 Vine Street? Or do you have that picture as 320 Vine Street? Or are you able to pull that up so she can see?
It's a different date.
Mayor, I think it's a picture from maybe a much earlier date.
Yeah.
It is.
And so it just looks a lot different now than it did when this picture was taken.
The assessor doesn't take a photograph every year.
No, that could be decades old.
So what date is on this picture then?
I don't think we know that.
Don't know.
Okay. well,
That is in for the purpose of demonstrating what the record shows in terms of facts, including contact information that we would use in notifying an owner.
Right, but I, as director of District 2, do not think that this picture here is 320 Vine Street. I know you're saying it's an earlier date, but unless it's been drastically remodeled and the porch is done, restructured, this doesn't even look like the house at 320 Vine Street.
If that is an assessor record, we are using it only as an assessor record. We are not saying that that is a picture of the house.
So I'm in no way trying to argue with it at all, but if you will look at some of the other photos, the reason that it looks so much different is because it is now covered with shrubs and brushes and undergrowth. It's the same house.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I went over there today. I talked to a neighbor, and for me, as the director of District 2, and you're coming back to condemn another house in my district, this is not the same house. Maybe we should table this and get the right picture, just because this is disturbing to me. I would hate for the city to condemn another house in District 2 and it be the wrong house.
That would be terrible.
Yeah.
Director, if you go to October 16th, 2024, December 17th, 2024, you'll see photos there that are the most recent photos, and it does show 320 as the address on the house.
Well, I have pictures that match this, but I don't know why. This is my concern, that there are two houses of 320 Vine Street. So for me, I want to make sure that we are talking about the right house, that maybe we need just one house in this document, because there are pictures of two different houses. So as a director, and then even as the board, how are they knowing what the right house is that is up for condemnation, especially if they didn't drive over there? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, and so if you want to make a motion to table,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to table.
We have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. And how many are required to vote? Is it a supermajority? Four. Okay. Motion to table. Please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith?
No.
Webb?
Aye.
Garcia?
No.
Trustee?
No.
Holliday? No. Beard?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
No. Motion to table fails. Please call the roll on the resolution.
Director Webb?
Aye.
Garcia?
Aye.
Trustee?
Aye.
Holliday?
Aye.
Beard?
No.
Dobbs-Smith?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
Aye. Resolution R-25-82 is adopted. Now we'll consider Resolution R-25-83 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-83, a resolution authorizing out-of-state travel to the National League of Cities City Summit for certain city directors as required by Hot Springs Code, Section 2-1-5, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion, second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Director Garcia, seconded by
Second.
Director Webb. And the staff report will be provided by our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Hot Springs Code 2-1-5 was recently amended by resolution number 10627. It states that out-of-state travel shall be as approved by the board of directors on a case-by-case basis. All out-of-state travel shall be subject to available funding of the board of directors' travel budget line items. Whenever possible, the attendance of the out-of-state events on behalf of the city of Hot Springs should be rotated among the individual members of the board of directors. Travel costs shall be paid at the rates and in accordance with the procedures established in the administrative policy entitled Travel Procedures for City Employees and City Officials, as may now or hereafter be in effect. Furthermore, any member of the Board of Directors seeking approval for travel expenses under the above shall complete and submit requests for travel forms pursuant to the administrative policy entitled Travel Procedures for City Employees and City Officials, as may now or hereafter be in effect. Pre-travel advance forms should be submitted with the appropriate information as early as possible to aid in facilitating such request. A post-travel report and any supporting information shall be completed and submitted within 5 working days of the traveler's return. Said form shall be available for members of the board in the office of the city manager. Pursuant to this policy, pre-travel forms have been submitted by 3 directors who each desire to attend the National League of Cities City Summit in Salt Lake City, Utah in November 20th through 22nd. More information on the City Summit can be found in the link that was in your packet. Mayor, we have 3 requests to attend the NLC. Director Beard's request is an estimated $1,005 for the conference and $2,087 for travel. Director Holliday's request is an estimated $760 for the conference and $1,959.96 for travel. Director Steve Trusty's request is for an estimated $760 for the conference and $2,281 for travel. As requested, reports of the board travel account and board reserve account were sent out to the board, and we have those in your packet as well. Resolutions approving the out-of-state travel for board members over the last 2 years have been prepared, so you have that information to review as well. We do have currently in remaining budgets for out-of-state travel, we do have $15,233.86 still remaining in your budget. We also have professional training in the amount of $7,305 in your professional training line. And just to clarify that a little bit, the travel cost of your travel comes out of the travel expense. The conference cost comes out of your professional training. So you really have a couple of lines there that your out-of-state travel, if you're attending a conference for training, comes out of. It's both of those. And right now you've got about $22,500 between the two. That concludes, Mayor.
Okay. Any discussion amongst directors? Comments?
Mayor.
Director Holliday?
Thank you. I know that I did submit one of these requests. However, I still stand by my comments earlier that I think we're fine sending 2 people at a time. And so it is definitely the board's call who those 2 people are. But if the board is not able to make that decision, then I will remove myself from this list.
Any other comments?
You don't have to remove yourself. I can pay for myself, but I am going to go. So if you want the board to pay, then, I mean, if that's how we do it, then fine. But I'm going to go, so.
All right, so we have Director Beard indicating that she'll attend on her own expense. Director Holliday would go on the, and Director Trustee would go based upon the pre-travel report / advance form. We have We have a motion to adopt. Motion to adopt. Director Garcia, seconded by Director Webb. And the staff report will be provided by our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow.
We have
Does that require an alteration in the resolution?
Well, you have blanks, actually.
I think you have the names in it.
Well, in the narrative, we have,
You have blanks.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So we would just need to,
Need a
Put-
motion to insert
Should
one,
we-
2, or 3, or
well, motion to insert Director Trustee and Director Holiday. Do we have a motion? Or whatever motion you want. Director Webb, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I was just trying to clarify what we were doing at present time, and I think the way the amendment reads now is, as far as what's on the table for the board to decide, is that all three to be paid for out of board travel expenses, correct?
There is no motion for any particular board member. There is a motion to consider this, which will require names inserted. They are blank.
There, how many, 3 slots that are blank?
That's how many lines we put on there.
Okay.
You're somewhere between 0 and 7.
Those blank slots are on bottom of page 110 of your board packet. And your Director Beard, she has attended a number of these and has generously indicated that she would pay her own way, which allows then Director Holiday and Director Trustee to be those who are going to be reimbursed from city funds.
There were 3 that applied. Director Beard has indicated she will pay her own.
I don't think we got that in the form of an amendment, though, do
No,
we? I mean,
that's
right
what we're
now it's
discussing.
okay, I got you. Okay.
We're trying to put names inside
If,
this.
if all 3 have an interest, I would support the board paying for all 3. That's where I am. We've got 3 dedicated board members who want to attend this highly important summit in Salt Lake City, and if the budget funds are available for all 3 to go, I would support us supporting all 3.
That's your motion.
I appreciate that, Lee. You know what? I agree with you.
I think that's a second.
Yeah, so if that's a second, then that's what it looks like.
So we have all 3 names, Director Trustee, Director Beard, and Director Holiday inserted into resolution number R-25-83. Director Holiday?
Well, I'll just reiterate, like, even if we vote on that, I will remove myself from the list if there are 3 going. So just however, and I'm not going to make the motion one way or another since I'm on the list, but I'm just letting you know that I am in favor of 2 people for every National League of Cities. I think we need to get more creative about other places to go, and I think sending a couple of people so they can tag team each time is great. I want to get in that habit and make that the norm. So that being said, if we vote for 3 to go, it will end up being 2. I will take my name off the list.
All right, well, we have the names in there as, let's call the roll.
Director Garcia.
This will be voting as presented. Okay, as presented.
Aye.
Trustee?
Aye.
Holiday?
No?
Beard?
Aye.
Dobbs Smith?
Aye.
Webb?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
No, resolution is adopted. Now we'll consider resolution R-25-84. Ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-25-84, resolution awarding a bid to Coakley Company, Inc. for the construction of Phase 1 of the Lower Gulf Gravity Sewer Capacity Improvement Project. That concludes your reading. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Director Garcia, seconded by
Second.
Director Trustee. Staff report will be provided by Joey Stadler, Assistant Utility Project Manager. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Staff recommends the award of the bid received on November 18th, 2024 to Coakley Company, Inc. of Hot Springs for the Lower Gulf Interceptor Sewer Gravity Main as designed by RJN. The award shall consist of total of alternate A in the amount of $9,496,272. This is part of ADEQ's consent administrative order LIS 22-077. The bid consisted of 4 alternates, A, B, C, and D. Only alternate A is going to be awarded at this time. It consists of approximately 5,700 feet of 42-inch fiberglass pipe and 14 manholes. Coca-Cola Company, Inc. was the only bid received and was selected based upon a certified bid tab and a letter of recommendation from RJN dated November 19th, 2024.
Any questions of Mr. Stadler?
I have one.
Director Dobbs-Smith?
I have received the question, and I do wonder why, when we have $9 million contracts and other multi-million-dollar contracts, why we have so many single bidders, why we don't have others. Are we not advertising enough? Are we not paying? I mean, is our project not worthy? Why do we only have one? And nothing against Coakley, I'm sure they do a fine job, but we only get one bidder.
Yeah, business is booming right now. So contractors ever really cherry pick which items they want that best suit them. For instance, if they have a job more close to their home base or their office, they're going to take that one at this point. So business is really good.
Thank you.
Yep.
We do think on other sections, though, as some of the contractors that have been working on our water lines have completed those projects, we may see them shift over to some of the future bids on the wastewater projects.
I have received questions about that. Why are we give the same person millions?
Sorry.
I just have received several questions about that. Thank you.
Any additional questions of Joey? Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Joey, this is alternate A. What are alternates B, C, and D? What do they entail? Not necessarily dollar amounts, but maybe our estimate of dollar amounts or what work's going to be done?
I believe it's about 5 million, 5 million, 7 million, right around there.
Okay.
So,
And they will have to be done at some point?
yes,
All of those? So
correct.
Alternate A, B, C, or D, it's not pick one and you get your project.
They've all got to be
You have
done.
to
They're
do
all part of the
four.
consent administrative order, correct?
Okay.
All of them, including Spring Street as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody sign up?
No, sir.
Discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, resolution's adopted. Now we'll consider ordinance O-25-21, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title. Director Webb, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. All in favor of the motion and second to suspend the rules and read by title signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance O-25-21, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6510 pertaining to the City of Hot Springs parking program codified at Chapter 7 of Title 1 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion, second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Director Garcia, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday, and Assistant Deputy Manager Lance Spicer will provide the staff report.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, everybody. This item is a proposed amendment to your ordinance 6510. That's the one that, if for everybody's understanding, that established Hot Springs, the paid parking program. We do have a series of amendments, 3 amendments being entertained this evening. 2 of them are board directed. 1 of them is more kind of a technical correction to do some cleanup. If it's okay, I'll kind of address them in reverse order as they're presented in your board action request form. The 3rd amendment that we're looking for deals specifically with the item, the rental of parking spaces for construction dumpsters, roll-off dumpsters. The board had previously set a rate in the priority zones and the secondary zones. Priority zones are $32 per day per space, and the secondary zones are $12 per day per space. The way that the ordinance was in fact written, it had that $12 per day space rental across the city. The actual intent was to only be within our paid parking program. So that's to only be within those secondary zones, not, for example, further out Park Avenue. If someone is to have a construction roll-off dumpster placed, obviously we keep track of that, but they will not be subject to a rental fee for those spaces because those are outside of our paid parking program. So if it's okay, I'll move on to the next amendment. Second amendment from the board specifically deals with the employee parking program. We've implemented the residential parking program. The board's direction was to bring forth the residential parking program that is in place. There was a discount program set up, but at the board's direction is to waive those parking permit fees for employees through 2025 with the understanding that we come back with a reasonable fee in 2026. In your packet, I think I attached some information from the various businesses expressing their interests. Looks like probably the high number would be approximately 800. That's obviously a seasonal high, so parking permit program would function just like the residential. They would make application. Business owners would be the account holder. They would in fact put their employees, the license plates in the system. They would show as a credentialed parker so that they're able to not pay those fees and not have to deal with the enforcement that goes with the paid parking system. So that's the Second Amendment. The First Amendment, in reverse order here, deals with the parking enforcement times. I think the board had some discussions and wanted a little more information. Currently, our parking enforcement is done from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that's Monday through Saturday. And at some of the discussion with the board dealt with some community events that are sometimes in conflict with our paid parking program, possibly to reduce, as it is written, to reduce the enforcement period from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that would be across Monday through Saturday. The board, I did highlight some information in your packets. We're really pretty new into this revenue projection, so crystal ball has a little haze to it. So if you're looking at the hourly revenue report, approximately 11% for the month of March, which is kind of a busier month, but obviously as we transition into summer, look to see some pickup there. Approximately 11% of our revenue for the month of March was raised after the hours of 5 p.m. And then additionally, if you're talking about different events that occur on the weekends, I attached those daily figures that highlight really Fridays. We raised approximately 17% of our revenue on Fridays. Saturdays was much more than that. But really, probably if the board is looking to make any type of decisions, there is the board already has the approval, the ability to issue parking holidays, fee waivers for specific dates that correspond with specific events and things of that nature. That may be a better avenue for you other than adjusting these enforcement periods, because we are still relatively new and we're really looking to obviously maintain the revenues that we need to. The end goal is to build another parking structure. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Let me ask, I'm sorry.
Oh,
You
go
want-
ahead.
Explain a little bit about the holiday kind of, so if you have a gallery walk, so you can go into the system and kind of preload that the first Friday of every month, you're going to put in there that no payment will be accepted from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And just that time frame will be excluded?
That's correct. It would be for the system, we use the kiosk system and then we use the mobile payment app. So basically what we would do, if these are known dates that are approved by the board, which this particular program does, we would in essence turn the system off. But that would have to be across the parking system. Yeah, it's relatively straightforward. They do it similar for, during the Christmas holidays, a lot of places waive those parking fees.
Well, you do Christmas parade, and I like that idea with the Christmas holidays, you know, having people come downtown to shop and give them incentive to come downtown.
Yeah, if the board is able to provide those dates and events and things like that, don't really need a lot of head start, but definitely the more the better, so that we can get those programmed with the system.
Director Holliday?
Yeah, my question was along the same line. I wanted to make sure that this idea of the parking holidays could be, have specific hours as opposed to whole days, and it sounds like that's not a problem. I would say, and I don't know, I hope it wouldn't require a whole work session, we may be able to figure out here, but if we like the idea of parking holidays, sort of what those parameters are. I think the incentive to come downtown during the holidays is great, I think for those larger events, but I do want to figure out some parameters so that we don't have to necessarily vote on every event that comes through or even discuss it, that staff would know that it fits into whatever mold and can just go with it. And that's something that they would be comfortable doing and we would be comfortable doing. So I'm not sure when, if now is the time for that conversation. It's a little more lengthy. But I'm in favor of parking holidays. I would say more so than the change in time, just from a financial standpoint. You know, I think it definitely helps, you know, kind of what the intent was around the conversation with Gallery Walk and then these other events as well, because we don't want to discourage anyone from participating in the things that make our downtown what it is. So,
Director Beard?
Thank you, Mayor. I just to piggyback off of what Director Holliday was saying, you know, coming from a city that has a lot of parking issues, we never had to pay for parking on Christmas Day, or if that was on a Thursday. Anytime the post office was closed, that was essentially a parking holiday. So I would like to consider that any 4th of July, I mean, we want people to come downtown because it is a holiday, but, you know, at some point I believe there should be some kind of break for people coming downtown.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned that in March, that about 10 or 11% of the March parking revenue was earned between 5 and 8, but you did not, for the sake of the public, say what the total revenue for March was. What was that?
It was just over $60,000.
So 60,000, and of that 60,000, approximately 6,000 was earned or received between 5 and 8. So without the 5 to 8, we would still had $54,000 in parking revenues. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Lance, how many secondary spaces do we have? Was it 900 and something?
All told, you have just under 1,000 spaces, but within the secondary zone, you're probably talking about 600, 650.
And we have approximately 800 employees interested in those 600 spaces?
That's correct. And one of the questions that we asked the employees and employers when we polled them on their interest was more so to get an idea of their usage. Some of them are more in the morning to afternoon. Some of them are spread out throughout the day. But really, until we get the program implemented and see the activity and the usage, you know, we won't exactly know how hard a hit it is for those secondary spaces.
Have we activated the secondary spaces at this point?
They are, patrons are able to pay for those secondary spaces. Right. We have not done the enforcement piece in that yet, because our commitment to those downtown businesses and employees was that we would not move into that phase until we had this employee permit program functioning and up and running.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Mayor, if I could just add, you know, I did speak with our financial advisor in speaking with him about the revenues that we've seen. And again, it's new. I mean, March is really our first full month of being able to look at that. And I applaud the board. I mean, we backed the charges or the rates back several times for different reasons. But we are kind of hitting that cusp where we don't have as much room. We're going to need somewhere on an average of around $70,000 a month to get to the target we're going to need for a revenue bond to be able to build another parking deck here in 27 possibly. So I just want to caution the board there, because it is, our whole goal to even start paying for parking or having parking rates was to be able to build that additional deck. They're still, currently, even with what we've seen, the costs are still going to run somewhere around $40,000 to $45,000 per space.
Personally, we can move very incrementally here. I think the holiday, or not the holiday, but the special event activity, gallery walk, those are events that, seem worthy events to keep the public, the local people coming downtown. And I would not want to see us give free parking on these 3-day holidays. Those are revenues. They're coming downtown regardless, and for them to, and our parking costs are fairly modest. It's $1 an hour on the secondary parking, so the tourists certainly are not going to stay away because of that, or even for the couple hours that might have some premium costs on Central Avenue. The employees, we committed to that a couple months ago to tie in with what we were doing with those who are residents in there. So I certainly, from my standpoint, providing a special event consideration, and then the keeping it till 8 o'clock until we have better clarity. We keep whittling away, and as Mr. Burrow said, it will come to a point where we won't be able to fund a parking garage, and that's the ultimate goal, is to provide additional parking, and we got to keep that at the forefront. Other comments? Director Holliday?
Thank you. It's kind of a procedural question at this point. So, because we do have 3 parts to this, so obviously we
kind of added a fourth.
We kind of added a fourth one. And so how exactly would we go about that? Because it is the 15th. And so, gallery walk's the thing that we keep talking about over and over again. So obviously, if we want to make sure that gallery walk before the next gallery walk is exempt from parking, or is deemed a parking holiday, we'd want to do that now, not necessarily at the next meeting. So it's publicized. But I feel like we're about to get into like the amendment chess.
Yeah.
So I want to figure out how to do this well.
Sure. So an amendment to delete section 1 of the proposed ordinance would get you back to where you are time-wise. And then, I feel comfortable, I think the city manager would feel comfortable, if the board feels comfortable, giving him direction to come up with an administrative policy that deals with these special event dates.
And would that be an additional amendment that would actually go into this?
I don't
Or
know.
would that be after, I would imagine after this policy were to come back, if we had set
Yeah.
whatever it is, federal holidays or
And
whatever.
what would be awesome is if he, devises one, because he has so many smart people working for him to come up with something that he wants to bring to you to approve.
Yeah.
But in the interim, motion to delete section 1.
Are we deleting section 1, or we just have to keep the time 8 p.m.?
No, you have to delete it, because that's what's being brought to you.
Oh, okay.
What's
Thank
being
you.
brought to you is 5 o'clock.
Yeah, thank you. Director Garcia?
Yeah, I just had a question regarding that, because we only have one full month, and we don't know what the from May to September, how, I don't know yet what our average will be. The average, after we collect all the data, may be more than the 700,000, even though March was 60,000, including those hours. We don't have that history. So that's what's difficult when you don't have that history, because yes, we want encourage people to come to Gallery Walk. We want them to come to the bathtub races. We want them to come down to the lighting of the Christmas trees in November. But I trust that administrative policy can be developed and presented regarding these holidays. But what do we miss when? That's what I'm struggling with, is not having that history. I want to meet what our goals are, but I don't know if we're going to be there with not having it till 8 p.m. because I heard from a lot of restaurants. I mean, we had bad weather January, February, flooding in March, and a lot of these small businesses are really hurting. And I don't want to deter anybody from after work or any time going to do business with our small businesses. So I'm struggling with that.
A week and a half ago when we had that torrential rain come through, and the whole weekend was, I was going to use the word washout, but that's a physical term. It wasn't a business term. Because if you were open, you had big business. And it was just one of the craziest things in the world. The torrential rain, and there was big business downtown. It was unbelievable. So people were just like, maybe if everybody was open, nobody would have done well. But those who were open did real well. So kind of the opposite thinking there, but it was kind of. But I don't disagree with you. I think, but we do need to have data. And again, just as we're discussing and we're massaging, we're trying to form this tonight, we can come back in 6 months after we get really 6 months from now, we're going to be in, October. We'll have a good summer history as to where we're at. And October will be a huge month for tourism in Hot Springs. And then we get into the slower time. What's our desire, to eliminate Section 1? Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I look at these two options, and I focus first on the time change. You know, right now having it at 8 to 8 in the morning till 8 p.m., and then I look at the option to change 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and I think which of those benefits our residents the most, which of those are going to bring our residents downtown more often, and I got to lean for that second one. I got to think if we were to make this move, even today as we stand, and I know we're in the process of collecting data, we've only got a month to kind of measure everything for, and that's the month of March, which isn't going to be our busiest month. But if we move this back to 5, I think it's going to be a beacon for residents to come downtown. I don't think tourists are going to, pay much attention to when the hours are. They're going to find that out after they're already in Hot Springs, and they've already got a path for what they're going to be visiting, where they're going, and so forth. So I think if we were to choose between either this first option in 1 or the second option in 1, which is for the holidays or events, I want to cast my vote for making the time change right now, 8 to 5. And if we get down the road and we see that we're having trouble meeting the goals, then yes, like you were saying, Mayor, there is that option to make a modification.
Well, it's always harder to increase the rates, the time frame, than to pull back. Any other comments? Director Holliday?
So I agree. It's going to be harder to vacillate. I'd rather stick with it because by moving it back, we're losing 72 hours a month of parking revenue as opposed to Gallery Walk, which is 3 hours a month. And Christmas parade that's once a year, and even when we put all the holidays together, because the reason we're taking the bitter pill right now is so we can have it better later, with the garage. So, I'm going to make a motion to amend to remove section 1, where we keep it 8 to 8, with the understanding that very soon we will have a policy which does include gallery walk and does include, at a minimum, federal holidays and our main community events.
Federal holidays may be a problem.
Yeah.
Like maybe not all federal holidays, because there's a whole bunch of them, but like the Christmas, 4th of July, New Year's Day, because.
Well, it could be a Veterans Day parade, it could be the Christmas parade, it could be some of those.
Right.
Dates.
No, not every Monday bank holiday that exists, but yeah, the big holidays to encourage people to spend the holidays downtown and experience downtown, so.
Okay, so we have a motion to strike section 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion to strike section 1?
Just have one more question for Lance, if I may.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor. Lance, how will the public know if there's a holiday that we're not enforcing? How do they know now? If we were to change this if we had to change this from 8 to 5, would the app tell them? Would the kiosk not work after 5 o'clock? How does that operate?
Both ways. I mean,
Okay.
we would try to publicize as best we can.
Sure.
Probably reach 5% of the people, but the app itself does have the enforcement hours
Okay.
within it, and then the kiosk. Like, for example, if you want to do a parking holiday, the kiosk itself the message would say no payment
It would
required.
flash a message? Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that's all, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to delete section 1. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
No.
Webb.
No.
Garcia.
No.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Motion fails.
I make a motion, Mayor.
Please.
I make a motion to keep 1 and change the hours to 8 to 5.
Well, that's the way it's
That's the way it
presented.
is.
Okay.
That's in there, yeah.
Well, I withdraw that motion.
So we can vote on the ordinance as presented. Director Dobbs Smith, you have a question or comment?
Looking at these numbers that Lance has provided us, it looks like the numbers really drop off after 6 o'clock. Like, it looks like between 4 and 5, or I guess that's 5 o'clock, you have a lot more people there. Would it be of any use to make it at 6 o'clock, the cutoff, instead of 5? That way that gives you, I'm looking here, and the total dollars.
It was 5,000.
Yeah, it was, well, at 8 o'clock, the 7 to 8 hour was $800 out of 82,000. And then between 6 and 8, it was 3,000, but then up there between 4 and 5, it was 5,000. So there was quite a bit, almost double. Would that keep allow people, because if you get off of work at 5 and you go downtown, and most people don't eat much earlier than that. Gallery Walk really officially kicks off at 5, right?
Yeah,
So you'd only pay for an hour, right?
correct. Yeah. From a revenue perspective, anything we could do to keep, to have the hours relatively close to what they were. So at 6 o'clock, I think would be, that'd be agreeable if we could, because obviously, the parking game is it's all time and occupancy. So if you reduce the time, you have to increase the occupancy. We only have 1,000 spaces, so it's kind of a.
If we leave it at 8 o'clock, someone coming in for Gallery Walk at 4:30 or 5 o'clock would have to pay for the whole 3 hours and go up incrementally. If you want to go to Gallery Walk and get here at 4:30 and start it at 5 or whatever you want to do, you'd only be paying for 1 hour then, which is only $2, right?
1 hour in the secondary.
Yeah.
So at least it would kind of keep our
$1.
revenue up, but yet give the locals and the people who want to come downtown a break.
You going to put that in a form of a motion or amendment?
I'd like to put that in the form of a motion. I
You have a
move,
motion to amend section 1 to go from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.? Is that what you're asking?
yes. I was going to say that.
That's what you said, I thought.
Second.
We got a second. So we have a motion to amend section 1, go from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Please call the roll.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Motion to amend has been approved. Now we would have the motion to approve the ordinance as amended. Please call the roll.
Brooke, did no one sign up for this?
Did we have anybody sign up?
No, nobody signed up.
Believe it or
Okay,
not.
well, I was like, wait a minute, usually there's a lot of thoughts, so.
They're
wanted to-
all here for other reasons.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you guys are troopers. You get a badge on the way out the door. That's unbelievable. Thank you. So, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
No.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance O-25-21 is hereby adopted. Now, point of clarification, are we still asking city administration, i.e. Mr. Burrow, to come up with a list of special events that we might waive parking?
Can I say something?
Yes.
At one time, downtown had special sidewalk days, and they were certain holidays, and maybe we could use that as sort of a guide for this.
Well, why don't we just
We've
have
done it
Bill
in the
work
past.
something up and present it to us, see how it swallows. Okay? Thank you. And we still have one final action before the main event. We're going to consider ordinance O-25-22 and ask, need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-25-22, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6515, Chapter 6 of Title 4 of the Hot Springs Code relating to parking regulations, restrictions, enforcements, and penalties, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Dobbs Smith, seconded by Director Webb. And again, staff report will be provided by Deputy City Manager Lance Spitzer.
Okay, as the only person standing between this crowd of people and having their voice heard, I will be as brief but as clear as I can. This particular item is I would call this a technical correction to the ordinances. Ordinance 6515, 6510, I'm sorry, which we just made an amendment to, that established the parking program, set the rates, the fees, everything in that regard, is actually found in Title 10. So what we need to do is to amend the ordinance that set the penalty clauses. So that was actually found in Ordinance 6515, and that is codified in Title 4. So that's pretty simply put. This is trying to blend these two together. We've had an amendment, and for that, I'll close.
Any questions of Lance on that? All right. Please call the roll.
Director Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
No.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. This concludes the action items for this evening's agenda. Now we'll move to Board of Directors items for discussion. Any items for discussion? Director Beard.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so this summer with the National League of Cities, there are 3 conferences that I will be paying for out of my own pocket. So I caught myself there when I opted to pay for Salt Lake City. So my question is, when can we put our board stipend back on the agenda? When can we vote on that? It's been what do we have to wait, 180 days? And has that passed since?
Are you talking compensation?
Yes,
Would
stipend.
you restate that, please?
Oh, we probably need Brian.
Okay, so I'll go back to the beginning. I am part of leadership with NLC, and there are 3 conferences this summer that I will have to pay for out of my pocket. So I caught myself on Salt Lake City. I really shouldn't have to pay for things that are for the entire board out of my pocket. I will do it for the committees that I serve on. So my question is, when the board stipend, we're doing this, we're volunteering our time. So this came up before last year. We've already voted on it, as I understand. So when will we, do we have to wait 180 days to vote on it again, or how does that work?
Talking about travel?
No.
I
I'm
believe
talking-
what happened, I apologize, let me see if I understand.
Yes, a board stipend not for travel, but for.
Board compensation?
Yes, because to offset the cost, I'm going and getting information that's helping the entire city. I'm also able to follow up on federal monies that the city was allocated for. So, and someone has to do that. So, yeah, when can we talk about that again?
I don't recall that coming up for a vote.
I believe what was determined, and it's unfortunate Brian isn't here, that the state attorney general said we had to go out to a public vote for that, but what we did vote on was the technology. That's kind of what came out of it, but I remember that because we don't get any compensation at all at this point, in order to start any type of compensation, it would have to go to the public, and then we could, as a group, again, is he coming? Okay, good. Brian, can you help? Welcome back.
Didn't know you'd need a legal opinion for your.
Board compensation process moving forward.
Election?
Okay.
There's an election every November, so maybe let's look at putting this on the ballot. I don't know when the last time it was there, but I think it's time to reconsider.
You also talked about the stipend, which is a little different, but, because we talked about stipend to cover technology and that.
Yeah, that had to be related to that use.
Right, correct.
But general compensation, benefits, things of that nature would require an election, in which you would need to refer to the voters. So it would be an action item coming to the board first, setting it for election.
Yep. All we can do is ask.
Any other item for discussion? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. First thing for me, I want to request to fellow directors and Bill, Brian, Mayor, that we schedule a work session in the near future, just as soon as we can, to look at the local permanently disabled veterans STR ordinance again and see what we might be able to do together to fine tune that, to get it so that it is appeasing to all the directors. Can we do that moving forward?
Is that 180 days, or what would need to take place to bring that back?
We could do a work session before 180 days, right?
Do a work session anytime you want.
Okay. And then if we bring an ordinance that is written different than what was voted down tonight, that could be brought up quicker than 180 days too, correct?
If the board approved it.
Okay.
What else you got, Director Webb? Is that it?
No, Mayor, but I did see
Oh, go ahead. You could.
her hand go up. Did you want to speak to that?
Oh, no, different
Okay.
item. Go ahead.
So the second is, I just want to share with all board members that I respect everybody's viewpoints and perspectives. I did have some questions as it relates to the advisory committees that were voted on last week, and I did try to take that into exec to have that discussion there. But, you know, I've got every right to ask a question. It wasn't so much that I disfavored who was appointed, but I did have some questions to clarify why those particular people were voted on, and that's what I was trying to address in exec. But I by no means was not trying to step on somebody's toes by asking those questions or go against what our board decided there. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a part of us, just like everybody that's sitting in this room. So anything that is passed or voted down, you know, that comes back to me just like it does everybody else sitting here. So I just want you all to know that I respect your perspectives, whether we are on the same side of an issue or on the other side of an issue. We were all elected, you know, to be a voice for the districts that we serve. And when constituents come to us on one side of the fence or the other, you know, it's important for us to listen to those residents and those constituents and bring their voices here with us. And that's what I was trying to do on that issue. And last point, Mayor, the Resource Center, moving forward, can I have some information? And I will say this, since the director for the Resource Center was hired, there are several daily and weekly notifications of the services that are taking place at the Resource Center and all of the steps that are happening to make that place as serviceable as it can be for everybody in Hot Springs. So I 100% appreciate city staff for sharing that report with us and showing us what's happening to move that center in the right direction. I want to extend my hand to provide help for fundraising and donation efforts moving forward. I did look at this item that came up today, which consisted of purchasing the refrigerator at $102,000. And upon first glance, you know, if I got to keep it real, I'm like, my God, how big of a refrigerator is that? And I mean, it is a big one. But I look at that number and think $102,000, that is a lot of money on top of what we have already budgeted and put into this facility. So I want to provide a solution and not so much clamp down on why are we spending this so much money here. But, you know, I've got to be a good steward of taxpayer money, and I don't want us to continue to just pour and pour and pour almost into an endless bucket at this facility, but rather I would like to offer my help to fundraise and get as many donations as we can to help with this facility. Because I do, in some cases, feel as if taxpayer money should be going towards other areas and services within our city and not so much to the Resource Center in some cases.
I can appreciate that, but I hope you understand that we all are good stewards of the public's money. Staff is going to be good stewards of the public's money. This is a goal that the board had. Staff is trying to reach that goal, and it's expensive. It costs a lot of money to take care of this population, as well as the working poor. This is a center where people can come for any type of resources. We've got great partnerships that are happening. We've got 100 families. We've got behavioral health. We've got CCMC, the Literacy Council. We've got computer rooms that are setting up. I mean, this is to help people break that stigma of homelessness if they're in that situation, but also to help them have skills to where they can go and get a better job. So, you know, I can appreciate what you're saying. We'd love the help in fundraising, but to feed 250, 300 people a day, it's going to take things like a walk-in freezer, a walk-in cooler. If the board has a different direction that you want to go on this center, we're in it, now. But certainly want to know that, because staff is marching on what we feel like this board wants us to do. So if that's changed, I want to know.
Director Garcia?
I just want to clarify that this was 2 huge appliances, not one. One is the cooler and one is the freezer. They are commercial, and this allows you to receive food donations that you can freeze and use and you can obtain, when things are on sale at a lower price, and preserve those so that you can save money in any food purchases. I work with nonprofits that these are very expensive appliances, and they are required. You have to have these commercial type appliances to serve, because if you ever volunteer at Jackson House and serving the lunches there are working people coming there, there's people in need. It's whoever needs a meal is served. And
Okay.
I'm proud that we are in a community that cares about all our people.
Director Holliday. Hopefully, we can wrap this up because
It's a big day. Real quick, kind of to follow up on Director Beard's statement earlier in the day, I was going to ask if the clerk, if you don't mind, I'm putting you on the spot, briefly, when information is available to the public in and around committees and commissions, not only when they're listed for people to apply, but when our packet is sent to us, that is also available online. So with respect to even Director Webb saying that some people had reached out about some of the applicants, the public has access to that when we have access to it as well, and where that is and when those things are available.
Yes, that is correct, that those packets are published at the same schedule the Thursday before the special meeting would be. Those applications are included. They are redacted because they are open to the public. The city clerk's office is constantly taking applications every day of the week, 365 years. We advertise for those openings twice a year, however. So we are continually taking applications. So if anybody's interested in any position at any time, they can apply, whether that is currently filled or coming up for expiration in 6 months, a year, 2 years. So we are always taking those applications, and you can always apply online through the portal there. Hope that answered your question.
I think so. I
Statement.
just wanted to make sure because a lot of the public response kind of made me think that it was implied that the information may not be available to the public. It's just that everyone needs to know kind of when and where to find it if they're actually interested in it in advance of us voting in a meeting like this, so that it is available online. And if somebody knows someone who's applying and has a good or bad opinion of them, you're welcome to let us know something we may not have, and, be privy to. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that stuff's available.
Yes, and just to follow up on that, on the city's website, on the Board of Directors page, the current packet for the next upcoming meeting, whether that be a regularly scheduled meeting that's held the first and third Tuesdays of each month, or a special call meeting, that current packet is always published and available on the website.
Thanks.
Director Garcia.
If there's no further comments, I move to adjourn.
I got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.